Hey everybody, welcome back to Spearfactor. Today we have the Breakfast Club little staff here, Quinn and Zach. They're from San Diego. They're local guys, and they've got a pretty cool little chat group that they've started. And they're also doing something really cool for the less fortunate around Thanksgiving. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us, Brett.
Thank you.
Cool. So before we get into all the details of what you guys are doing, let's go over, Quinn, why don't you first introduce yourself and a little bit of your background with diving?
Yeah, totally. My name's Quinn Spiteri. I moved to San Diego like 4 years ago and some change. Got into the diving scene recently about a year ago. Freediving, just got into scuba. I've been surfing my entire life, up from Santa Cruz area, up north there by the bay. But yeah, started off just, dicking around in that Facebook spear chat, the big one here. Met Zach, and then we'll discuss our group chat taking off. But a little bit of history about me diving. Started offshore diving with a little 130 cm piece of shit, and then upgraded now to a Rife Raider 61 and going offshore for the Patties, islands, and all that jazz.
Yeah, and I'm Zach McCauley. Little background to me, pretty much same as Quinn. I've been in San Diego for about 5 years, moved out here from the Midwest. And I started diving. I started spearfishing this year, 6-7 months ago. And it's kind of funny how I got into it. I started just like snorkeling last year. I grew up in the water out in the Midwest, in the lakes, rivers and stuff, but snorkeling wasn't a thing there because you had a foot of visibility in these, dirty rivers. And I think I just saw a YouTube video of someone snorkeling, and I was like, dude, wait, I'm in San Diego. Like, why isn't that something I'm doing? That seems awesome. Got into that, and then my buddy took me out lobster diving early this year in like January. Got all the gear, started like free diving, got the weights, longer fins, all that. Got my fishing license, and then in March when the lobster season ended, I was like, man, I got a fishing license. I paid for a year for lobster diving, and now I can't lobster dive. I guess I don't want to waste it. What can I do with this? And that's how I got into spearfishing. Just as a means to not waste a year-long fishing license. I bought a $60 gun off OfferUp and just started going out. And so, since then, it's completely kind of become an obsession, taking over my life. My whole personality has become the ocean. It's had me meet a lot of really cool people, an awesome community. And yeah, it's what kind of brought us here to the Breakfast Club.
Yeah, so the Breakfast Club. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, Zach?
Yeah, so that started honestly as a just a group chat of 4 people. Someone posted in the San Diego Spearfishing Facebook page, like, hey, new spearfisherman here, been out like once or something, looking for some dive buddies. Probably ideally looking for people more experienced to show them the ropes, but I think a lot of experienced people don't really want to go out with newbies. So the only people that responded were me and Quinn and another newbie, and we're all like, hey, yeah, we're new too. Like, let's go out. Also looking for dive buddies. So he made a group chat in just Facebook Messenger just to plan a dive. And we went out. We did that dive one morning, and I think it might have been Quinn, someone was like, oh, here, I'm adding my buddy who's also getting into spearfishing. Someone else added a friend. Quinn just named it the Breakfast Club. And I remember seeing that notification being like, Breakfast Club? That's pretty cool. I like that. Yeah. And we just kept adding people, and we would see people post, as newbies, we'd see other newbies post in the that same San Diego Spearfishing Facebook page, like, hey, new guy here looking to get out, meet some dive buddies. No one I know does this, so who wants to come out with me? And we would all just reach out and be like, hey, you know, we got this little group chat going on, a bunch of newbies, you know, good way to meet dive buddies. You want to join? And people were like, yeah, dude, join, or let me join. And it just kept growing and growing. And then, you know, we started adding, you know, having more experienced people join. And now we've got to the point where we've got about 70-ish, give or take, people, ranging from, you know, complete beginners have never shot a fish or shot like 1 or 2 fish, all the way up to, you know, vets who have been doing it for 30 years and, you know, taking down pelagics and stuff like that. Kind of everything in between.
That's awesome. That's quite a growth. And we had talked about this before, but Quinn, why do you think the group had grown so much and taken off?
Yeah, I mean, we'll begin with Zach. Absolutely killed the intro right there. That's pretty pound for pound, just perfect explanation of what happened, what we are now. But what kind of created that bond, or like the success that we have right now, I would say, is probably just the cohesiveness of it. We were able to find and make connections with individuals at an individual level, which then allowed us to push that into a group level, which is our, you know, spearfishing group, the Breakfast Club. And each of these individual connections we made, we're able to, again, create another individual connection with other people in our group. So we were able to create this cohesive bond of people coming from all different walks of life. You know, some people are in sales, one of them's a nurse, there's a whole bunch of different things, but we all come down for this one sport that we love, which is spearfishing, and just being the aquatic animals that we are.
Yeah, I think you kind of you kind of hit on something that's, I think, really important, is being cohesive out of the water really helps to make a good buddy and a good dive buddy in the water, because you already have that connection. And then going on trips are really fun and nice to spend 8 hours on a boat with somebody that you like. That always helps too, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite memories of spearfishing, definitely my favorite memory of spearfishing, is just a trip we took out to the Coronados.
I know exactly.
I knew Quinn from there, and I don't think I had met any of the other guys who were on that boat yet. I mean, I talked to them in the group, but I hadn't met them in person. And we spent 8-10 hours out on a small boat, out fishing. And I mean that is kind of like one of the key things that was earlier on in the Breakfast Club, of building like just a solid group of people who have real, like, meaningful connections. You know, I remember sitting and looking at that boat and being like, yeah, we've got, like, you know, an ex-Green Beret here with my dumbass, like, college kid, here with, you know, a very business professional person, but we're all just shooting the shit. We're all shooting fish and having a blast because of that key unifying factor. And that was, I mean, yeah, that was really, I'd say, my favorite memory of spearfishing, and what really kind of started to build the bond of this group.
Yeah, I love it. We got an ex-Green Beret. My dive buddy's a Green Beret. But they make really good dive buddies, I guess. But it is cool to go and have a unique set of skills, if you will, a diverse set of skills, because it's like the best recipe for conversations. And also, if anything really happens, like you say, you got a nurse, you got that covered. Another good friend of mine is an ER doc. I'm like, perfect, we got that covered. We got a Green Beret, we got an ER doc, we got this too, we got a social media guy, like, we got it all covered. And then that leads to that relationship in and out of the water, to further those bonds when you're diving, that really help make the memories and the experiences all around us enjoyable. Because there's nothing worse than being on a boat with someone you don't like for 8 hours. Like, not even you don't like, they just don't gel with the group, you know? So you said you were from the Midwest. Where in the Midwest are you from, Zach?
Illinois, like northern Chicago area.
Okay. Did you do any Great Lake diving out there yet?
No, I haven't been back since I started diving in the summer. I've only been back, like for Christmas in the winter. But I've heard Lake Michigan is pretty nice. So I'll definitely have to do that at some point. I've never done any really freshwater diving, so I'm interested to see how that differs.
Yeah, you need to link up with Brett Label. I don't know if you know Brett, but he's a big freshwater guy from Wisconsin. But he's in Texas right now. But so let's jump into really quick. What your breakfast club? What led you to doing the event that you're doing? And first of all, what is the event? Let's talk about the event that's happening.
Yeah, so the event is we're hosting a charity lobster drive, where we're getting as many divers as possible out to go out and catch lobster, and donate them to a soup kitchen, Father Joe's Village here in San Diego. And it's not specifically for Thanksgiving dinner. They already had plans for that, but kind of in the Thanksgiving spirit, it'll be the week of Thanksgiving. And really, yeah, the idea is to just give back to the community that gives us so much. And, we have this really amazing resource of lobster right now. And just trying to help people who aren't as fortunate as us, who, or for whatever reason are struggling to get by, struggling to eat, and just kind of, help them out. That's the event. And how we got there really is, it's kind of based off an idea I had a couple months ago. I had the idea to set up a nonprofit that would essentially take bycatch from fishermen that's like legal catch, but they don't have a market for, and just gets thrown back, and a lot of times ends up dying throughout the process of getting caught and then released. And taking that from them, processing it, and passing it on to local food kitchens, and being able to give them, as a nonprofit, being able to give them a tax write-off for it, so they have financial value to a fish that they previously didn't have a financial value for. I had the idea, and I kind of reached out to some commercial fishermen, just ask them about it, ask them, if that was possible. And I never heard back from anybody. I meant to go down to the fish markets and talk to some people, and I forgot about it. Honestly, I had life going on, and I just kind of went off somewhere else, hid in my brain until lobster season came around. And I was went out on my first lobster dive right in the opening weekend, and the next day I was eating the lobster, and I was thinking about it. I'm like, we don't need commercial fishermen if we do this with just lobster. We can do this. And I text Quinn. I'm like, hey, here's an idea. What if we just go out and get a bunch of lobster, get a bunch of people, we donate it to a soup kitchen? What do you think? And he was like, dude, yes, count me in. What if we make it a contest so that we can incentivize people to get out? And I was like, oh, genius, yeah. So now we have it set up as a contest, which will hopefully bring out a lot more divers, with some incentives. We'll have prizes for first and second place for the biggest lobster caught, and first and second place for the most overall weight of lobster. We've got some just private philanthropists who wanted to help out and give us cash prizes. We've partnered up with Spear America, who's donating gift cards and some lobster gear. And yeah, hopefully, we're shooting for 100. That's our goal, is to get 100 lobsters to be able to get donated.
That seems very doable. 100 lobsters, divide that by 7, right? That's as many people as you need. If everybody limits out,
Yeah,
which, it's doable for sure. All right. Well, very cool. So where does someone explain the contest a little bit more, how, Quinn, where do I sign up, and what are the rules?
So we there is no there's no sign up, which is kind of, we threw a flyer out, and if you want to participate, we gave our contact information to encouraging people to let us know so that we could get a head count roughly. But obviously, a lot of people here are going to be kind of like on a whim, or just like, yeah, I could help out. Maybe I'll go diving and throw one or two in. And actually, so we were able to not only reach out to the divers in the county, San Diego County here. Luckily, there was a guy named Mario who reached out to me when I posted this on one of the Facebook pages, and he is in charge of a lobster hoop netting tournament that night prior on the 18th. They have a bunch of sponsors and cash prizes as well, and he's going to encourage all the guys there to donate as little or as much as they want. But they're not, he said they don't want to partake in the prize winnings or anything. They just want to donate maybe one or two of each of their team's catches, which is cool. And probably going to, if successful, we'll donate a good chunk of our, percentage there. I know we have a handful of guys that are going to come from our group. They have outreach to other guys in other groups. We partnered with Spear America and some other philanthropists. Spear America would be donating some physical prizes like lobster bags, measuring tools, all that stuff. And I think we have $600 in cash prizes here going into it. But back to your question you were getting at before I went on that tangent there, so I can clear it up.
Just the details of the tournament, like weigh-ins. Is it nighttime? Like, are you doing it Friday night? And
the everything's going to be coming in on Sunday. There's 2 drop-off locations, La Jolla Shores and also La Jolla Cove. It's time dependent. Zach actually was the one, you should be speaking to him, that I was in charge of distributing the information to everybody, but Zach would be the one to ask about all the nitpicky details there.
Yeah.
All right, Zach, give it to me. What do we got?
So I'm gonna be set up at La Jolla Shores, just as a central location. I think that's a good middle ground between kind of people in in the actual, not in the MPAs obviously, but in other areas of La Jolla, to the jetties up to North County. We're gonna have a bonfire set up there on the shores, where you can come. I'll be there from 5 to 9:45, and then the parking lot closes. But I figure there will probably be the last couple of stragglers who are still kind of coming in around 10. So like Quinn was saying, from 10 to 11, I'll just be hanging out in that park in front of La Jolla Cove to take the last couple last minute donations. And yeah, we'll have a weigh station there. We're gonna be checking all the lobsters, making sure they're all legal size. No one's trying to donate, anything that's illegal. We're gonna weigh all the lobsters, write down the information, and take down each person's name and phone number attached to all that data. So people are gonna hang out. Like I said, we're gonna have a bonfire, be able to hang out, kind of meet some of the guys in the group. Meet other divers, or you can just drop it off and go. Monday morning, we'll be donating all of the lobster to Father Joe's villages, and then tallying up all of the total weights and the top weights, and kind of reaching out to people, just texting them, calling them, saying, hey, you won, how can we drop off the prizes? And this is going to be, I realized we haven't said it yet, it's Sunday the 19th, so the Sunday before Thanksgiving. I'll be there 5 to 10 at La Jolla Shores, and then 10 to 11 in the Cove. I'll be set up right when the bonfire pit's there, but I'll try to get a pop-up, maybe a sign or something. But if you can't find me, you can reach out to just DM the Instagram page, the Breakfast Club SD, and, I'm like, hey, where are you guys? I'm here, whatever. We'll see who wins. I think we got some awesome prizes, and hopefully get a lot of people. Just make a fun event out of it, hang out, meet lobster divers, shoot the shit, really.
Yeah, that sounds like a good time, especially for a good cause. Great. There are some people, so if someone's like, well, I'm not going to give all my lobster away, can they donate some instead of
Yeah. That's I'm meant to touch on that. So thanks for reminding me. You give whatever you want. Like we're not. If someone comes in with 7 lobsters and was like, "Hey, I only want to give 2 of these," we're not going to be like, "No, dude, like screw you, give us all." Like, we're about getting whatever we can to give back. So yeah, a lot of people probably won't. I mean, you don't want to go out, and a lot of people want to go out and spend the whole night diving and give up everything they got. That's okay. Give 1, give 2, really whatever you want. And if you get one really big one, you can donate it and be in the running for the prizes for the biggest. That is also why we set up the other like kind of separate contest for the most overall weight, is to try to incentivize people to give more. But hopefully people will be wanting to give more to be in the running for that contest. But if not, I mean, give us 1 lobster, give us 2, give us your full catch, whatever. We'll take whatever, and we'll be super thankful for it.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I think sounds like a cool event. You got me thinking maybe I should do something for somebody else. Get off my ass and go get some bugs or something. So going back to your guys' personal story with diving, and I'm thinking about this because I'm looking at 2 individuals here with very different backgrounds. And the purpose of the show anyways was to share spearfishing with people, help people grow their knowledge, all that stuff. Well, my friend said to me one time, can you believe that sometimes like that with certain people, the very first time they see the ocean is when they go diving for the very first time? And to me, that's like insane. Like to think about all the stuff that you have to be able to comprehend just in general, and maybe because you grew up in the ocean, and then you put a spear gun in your hand and you're like, yeah, go shoot a fish or go get lobster. And you, oh, by the way, hold on to this bag. Don't lose it. And the light and everything else. And oh, by the way, for the first time, Pacific Ocean, meet brand new diver, has nothing, doesn't know nothing. And then we have Quinn, who surfed, said, been surfing your whole life, which I can totally relate to. It's like that is such a step ahead of someone that has no idea. For both of you, Zach, was that the first time you saw the ocean? Was when you went lobster diving for the first time? Or you said you went snorkeling.
Yeah, I started with snorkeling, and I had been like body surfing with some of my friends in college, but that was really my only experience with the ocean up until that point. Was just kind of messing around in the waves. So it was very new, very a lot going on kind of the first time I started going out.
And I'm glad you said that, because I have told people when I've taken them out, like they've paid me to take them out to mentor them and coach them, and their very first time in the ocean was spearfishing. And I had said, one of the guys jumped in and had a panic attack, and I said, you know what? Like, leave the gun at home, go over to La Jolla Cove and snorkel. Like, pay attention to the way the water moves, pay attention to entry, exit, but pay attention to the fish and what they are, know what they are, and all of this stuff. Just learn to be comfortable in the water. Kind of a crawl, walk, run thing. I feel like surfers, Quinn, like we kind of get that naturally just by the sake of being in the water. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. The first thing that surfing taught me was be calm in uncomfortable situations, from, obviously beginning in, ankle, thigh, hip size swell to what I progressed to, which I've been up to double overhead. It's the ocean is powerful, respected at all times, and comfort. Being held under, being thrashed around, and what's essentially, when you go down there, you're 60 feet plus sometimes looking up, and something could go wrong. You have to be able to keep that level head, that your heart rate has to be down to keep your breath hold maximized. But it's already, surfing allows a waterman to understand the basics, which transcend from diving to surfing to anything really in the water.
Yeah, you gave up. You said something really good. I kind of want to touch upon. I think when you surf and when you fall, I've seen it with my kids, learning that you have to give up control because you don't have it. That understanding of like, oh, I have to like, what is the word? I have to give up. I have to just go with the flow essentially and let go in order to make things work out the way it's part of the normal progression is letting go. And I think of people like when you're surfing, you get body whomped, like you said, body surfing too. You learn that, oh, if I just relax, it's much more pleasant. It's going to let me up in 10 seconds regardless. And I can fight it and it'll feel like I'm going to drown, or it can relax. And you kind of learn that. And then diving wise, like you said, going down and things happen, you're like, oh, I've been here before. Your brain has rehearsed this idea of I'm underwater, I'm relaxed because that's what I got to do. Because if I panic, that's not going to work out for anybody. So yeah, it's interesting. And I think the other thing with being a surfer, you kind of have an advantage of is learning how to read water. Like you said, waterman, like understanding that, hey, what does a rip current look like? Oh, okay. Even just swimming outside of that, like people that don't know drown and rip currents, surfers, we use it to our advantage. I don't have to paddle if I just go, So it's like there's that yin and yang. And then for someone like Zach, who's like paired up, you've learned a lot through snorkeling, just being in the water. You can learn the exact same. I mean, you look down at the ground, it's clear. You look down at the bottom and you realize you're kicking one way and you're still going the other way. It's like, what's going on here? You still have to go through those processes. Very cool. But for each of you, because you're both newer divers, I would say, right? Like for each of you, what were some sticking points? Like what were some things that really kind of, that you struggled with in the beginning or are currently struggling with? Zach, why don't you go first?
I think kind of what you're talking about earlier about the guy who jumped in the water and had a panic attack. I was terrified the first time I went in. Like I said, even just like the first time I went snorkeling, I didn't know anything about reading the water. I didn't know waves, rip currents, visibility. I went out to La Jolla Cove right before sunset thinking like, man, this is going to be nice, a nice sunset snorkel. Like my first time ever doing it with like a Amazon mask. And I get out there and no one's in the cove. It's just me and the sea lions, scaring the piss out of me. I get out there and I start hyperventilating. Viz is bad. There's, a swell coming, right into the cove. The sun's low, so I can't really see anything. It's dark, it's murky, and I was terrified. And I think, like, to me, there's like two things that are like the antithesis of fear, and that's knowledge and experience. So I got out the water the first time, like, scared. I was scared of the sea lions. I was scared of sharks. I was scared of the unknown, of the bad visibility and like not knowing what was around me, not knowing what was underneath me. Scared of the fact that really for the first time ever, I wasn't like the apex predator in my environment. Being on land in the U.S., where we don't have tigers and stuff like that, you're pretty much always the apex predator. Nothing's gonna just show up and kill you. But like the first time you step in the ocean, or like even swimming in lakes, we had little bass and stuff. That was it. But the first time you step in the ocean, you're like, there are things out here that, if they want to mess me up, I have no control over that. Is a humbling moment. And like I was saying, I think fear and experience are the two things. So like first thing, I got out of the water that first time and just Googled everything I could about sea lions and everything I could about sharks. And, sea lion attacks. When was the last time they happened? Do they happen? What, like sea lion behavior, stuff like that. Everything I could about those. And I kind of learned, I'm like, okay, I'm good, whatever. It's not as big of a deal as it seemed when I was in the water. And then experience. I went out again and I was still scared. Still, bad visibility, big fear of the unknown, not knowing what was around me. I kept going and I started realizing, go in the daytime, there's people around, good visibility. I started learning how to read the waves. And I started realizing, okay, I know what's around me. It's no longer the fear of the unknown, because I've been here, I've seen these things. A great white hasn't popped out of nowhere and just chomped on me yet. And over time, I grew more comfortable in the water, and even to the point now where it's like, if I'm somewhere new and it's unknown, I still have a good idea of what's around me, and kind of like what Quinn was saying is being comfortable, being uncomfortable, and knowing my limits, knowing that fear is natural and it's going to happen in new things, but really just that, that's kind of part of the thrill of it. I would say that was the biggest step for me, was getting comfortable in the water. Because if I had just gone out spearfishing when I was scared, my heart would be racing. I wouldn't be able to hold my breath for 10 seconds. I think that was kind of the biggest step for me.
What do you think the time frame was before you started to feel comfortable in the water?
I would say probably 5 dives, 5 times going out snorkeling. 3 to 5 before I was like around the 3rd time, I was like, okay, this is okay. I'm still a little kind of on edge. But around the 5th time, when we had better visibility, and I'd been out there and I'd seen what there is to see, and know, what there is, and nothing's going to pop out. No sea lions are going to just attack me out of nowhere. That was when I started to really be like, okay, I'm calm in the water. Now I can really start to take in what I'm seeing, take in the beauty of it, start diving down, if I hadn't really known about spearfishing at that point, that would probably be when I would have started, after 3 to 5 dives.
Yeah, I like what you said. That's a line I use a lot for the kids, and in the Army, the same kind of thing, being comfortable with being uncomfortable. I say, you don't have to not be afraid. It's okay to be afraid. Everybody's afraid, but it's you still got to do your job. You still got to do your task. So it's like, if it's something that's important to you, having a little bit of fear is actually probably a good thing. It keeps you on your toes, keeps you honest, and increases your attention to detail and things like that, or it should. But over time, that fear goes away. You start to enjoy stuff, but it helps push you to past that hump. Now, if you're terrified, and maybe it's not the right sport for you, but being comfortable, being uncomfortable, it's kind of a good thing for life, just in general, for anybody. Quinn, how about you with some of the challenges that you had with your background of surfing and then getting into diving?
Yeah, totally. As much as I hate to admit it, definitely the fear of the unknown was crazy. As a surfer, you're not looking under the water. You're just looking at the waves, looking at the sunset, looking at your friends. So you're never really aware of what's beneath you. And then now, with today's times, with all this drone footage popping around, we start to realize that they're totally more prevalent than you'd like to admit. And I know for a fact, back in Santa Cruz, there was definitely 1 or 2 swimming around me at some point. But things that stuck with me, or that was your question, correct? Things that stuck with me initially?
Yeah, just some of the more difficult things, I would say, for you. Like, some people it's frenziling, some people just being comfortable. Like Zach was just getting over that initial oh my God, it's the underwater environment. Wow.
Yeah. Let's see. The initial one, obviously, for me too, was fear of the water. But now Zach and I are night diving the canyon 80 feet down plus, with a smile on our face the entire time. So progression, you get past the initial fear. Every time you're taking a tally mark, and that tally mark grows bigger and bigger, which is just a showing of your growth and the lessening of your fear, I guess. But yeah, something that stuck with me, honestly, I think for me was me pushing myself, trying to go deeper and deeper and deeper, always having my dive watch on, making sure that I hit. So I remember 20 feet my first time. I was like, fuck yeah, 20 feet, dude, that's deep, right? And then, no, it's not. Now we're pushing 60. I got to 80 before, which is still, in the freediving community, very, very, very shallow. those guys going down with the mono fins and stuff hitting like 300 plus. It's crazy. But yeah, the one thing that I really noticed and took note of was my progression, learning proper breathing techniques, different equalizing techniques, and really starting to apply the learned knowledge I got off my friends, YouTube, online, all that stuff. And then really starting to take those steps or the building blocks to go from beginner to intermediate to the entrance of advanced,
What do you think it is that, so this is I've seen this in all the years of diving, I would say just this cultural shift. What do you think it is that causes you guys, and I'm not saying you do this, but you had mentioned it, focused on the number, on the depth?
Ego, or
That's fine.
or just like if you have that challenge mentality with everything you do, you always want to push yourself better. Like for me, sports, if you didn't have that starting position, what can you do to get that starting position? You're kicking a field goal, like, oh, I can kick 40. What if the game needs me to kick 60? What if I need to go to 60 feet to hit this grouper or something and I can't do it? I'm going to go ahead and do what I can to kick that 60-yard field goal or get that 60-foot depth to shoot that fish. It's just the constant battle of how can I do better? Not staying complacent. It's a better way to put it.
Right. How about you, Zach?
I'd say it's the same. Yeah, I mean, I grew up playing football. I grew up wrestling, wakeboarding, stuff like that. And it was always like, I think especially not football, but wrestling and was like it being an individual sport. It kind of like ingrained in me. Like I'm battling myself. Even though like wrestling, you're wrestling this other guy. Improvement is like I'm kind of it's on me, it's not like this person on the team messed up, this person whatever. It was always like, if I want to get better, I have to do it. If that guy beat me, it's because I didn't try hard enough, or in practice I didn't train hard enough, whatever. And I think kind of having that like that mentality it has then applied to spearfishing of like, if I can't get that fish, I have to be better. Like it's just like in spearfishing, yeah, you're going after the fish, but really your biggest enemy is, yourself. It is calming down your brain, slowing down your heart rate, and not listening when your brain is like, hey man, go up, like breathe, and having to get over that hump of, well, I want to be better. So no, like let me just try this. Let me stay down here for a sec. And I think that's kind of where that kind of internal competition comes from, of like, all right, like the first time we ever went on Quinn's boat, we went out and it was like 30 feet, and I was like this is one of my first time spearfishing. I'm like, can I do that? I don't know. I've never measured how deep I can go. And we went out and, I was able to just barely hit the bottom and then come back up, no time to hunt or anything. But I was like, okay, 30 feet. Okay. And then we're like, oh yeah, I guess we could try going out to the, the Point Loma kelp. It's, like 60 feet out there. And I'm like, okay, I am going to have to learn how to do that. And if I want to go, hunt that area. So let me start practicing. Let me start getting comfortable at 30. Let me start getting to 30 and being able to stay down for longer. Let me, start working on my, my dry breath training, and, start doing lung stretches and, CO2 tables and all that, because I want to be able to do more. Like,
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought this up, actually. And this is why I think it's important to have young, newer-ish guys on the show, because that mentality, that mindset. I wrestled too. I fucking love wrestling because, like you said, I played football in college, but wrestling, individual sports, and you're right, there is nobody that's going to... You think you're a man, it's real easy to hide on a football field. walking out there and facing another person with the exact same mentality, hopefully, that you do in front of your friends and family and getting beat is the most character building thing, I think. And also, like you said, it teaches accountability because there is nobody to blame but yourself. And that's why I honestly fell in love with wrestling. After wrestling, I didn't realize the benefit of it till I was like 30, 35 maybe, when I started coaching football and seeing that mentality does not cross into other sports. It's easy to take a play off. You can't take a play off. You can't rest for a second. In wrestling, even if you're doing something like cross country or sprinting, whatever it is, there is no off. So it breeds this, like, I don't know, it breeds this ultra intense, serious, competitive, whatever. If you have it in you, you don't, I don't know, but it breeds that in you. But the problem that I found with freediving and that person inside of me, which is always like, excuse me, I might have yelled at halftime last game, "This is how we do things," full fucking throttle, and screamed at them, told them to not let off the gas, but like my buddy said, it was a competitive surfer, one of the top in the world, top 12 or something. He goes, "Brett, people like us die freediving." When I go, "What?" He's like, "Think about it, man. Like, for us to naturally go, if we want to hit 100 feet, right? Excuse me. If we want to hit 100 feet, I've said this to myself, I'm going to give a shit if my trachea collapses. I'm going to 100 feet. I'm doing it, right? Like, number driven, don't care." And then I usually go and fuck myself up and then, back to the drawing board, right? Or just fail or whatever it is, right? What I had learned, and this is why I think women, what I said before, I think women are better naturally at freediving as a whole, as in general. And I'll just throw that big generalization, but I mean, like, they calm down, they're relaxed, they're definitely not trying to muscle everything, where we, as competitive meatheads, like, I'm like, 80 feet? I don't care if I die, we're going 80 feet, So it's one thing I had to learn, and it took me about it took me a long time in the freediving thing, was to let go in order to be successful and not care. Freediving is so ass backwards. It's like the least you try, the better off you are. Like, the more calm you are, the more you don't care. And, oh, you have to listen to your body. Well, I'm used to tell my body, "Shut the fuck up. Let's go." You know what I mean?
That's what you would get killed.
Yeah, but that's why, like, my buddy was like, very competitive people, like people that are used to competing at whatever, they tend to drown in spearfishing and freedive, whatever, because it's like, "Hey, I got that fish, I gotta go get it, I gotta, push yourselves," right? But that's why it's so important for people like us and a lot of other people to have like a good buddy system. It's hard here because the visibility sucks, but there's ways to do it. But it's also a good point, I think, just to drive home, is that we are wired that way, but we got to catch ourselves too. Like, it's important to make sure that we don't get focused on numbers and just actually, like, I remember, I think I did a line dive like a while ago with the Just Get Wet guys. And I remember the guys saying to me, "Relax, enjoy the dive," And I was like, "Enjoy the dive." Like, I haven't enjoyed a dive. Like, a dive is just to get it's a goal-orientated thing. Like, enjoy a fucking dive. Enjoy it. I don't enjoy this. It sucks. Like, and it was so funny because spending enough time with freedivers, good freedivers too, you realize, like, I've been doing this shit wrong the whole time. Like, I really should be enjoying this more. And have you guys experienced this in your mental dialogue at all, or am I just crazy?
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I think, there have been times where just like you were saying, I had the goal of, I want to go out there and get fish. I want to get fish. I want to shoot a fish. I want to take a fish home and eat a fish. And I'm getting that, that's what's going to happen. And I went out and I just flopped one day and I missed like 5 shots in a row and I was pissed off and I was upset. I'm like, dude, what's going on? Like, this sucks. And then I stopped. I like had an epiphany in the water and I'm like, man, 4 months ago, doing this, like just snorkeling, not getting any fish, I was having the best time of my life. 4 months ago, I was going out and just being at the surface, diving down 5-10 feet and coming out of the water like, yeah, that was awesome. I'm doing that tomorrow. And now I'm, sitting here like, man, I keep missing these shots. What's going on? Whatever. And it made me realize, like, it's really hard to have a bad day spearfishing if you have the right mindset, because worst comes to worst, you're snorkeling, you're free diving, you get no fish. That's still what a lot of people, what their goal is. I think kind of having that realization to be like, my goal should be to just go out and enjoy the sport. And if I get a fish, awesome. And if not, I still had a great day with my buddies and,
Yeah, my wife brought that to my attention several times of like, you got to basically snorkel in a kelp forest and you're bitching because you didn't shoot anything, And I was like, you know what, you're right. And that, honestly, that really made everything much more enjoyable. And it wasn't about shooting a big fish and posting something. It was really just about, no, this is just a journey. This is my thing that I do. How about you, Quinn?
Man, I don't know. Probably the same thing. I don't think there's much more I can think of off the top of my head.
No, I wanted to bring that up because I was hearing you guys say that. I was like, man, I still struggle with that. Like, you're like 80 feet, and I'm always wondering, like, what is it for the newer guys? Why are we number focused, right? And then for me, I'm like, I've been diving for so long, I don't ever go that deep. Like, why do I care? And it's like, why is everybody so much better at freediving than me? I was like, well, why the fuck it doesn't matter. I still shoot a lot of fish. Like, why do I care? So then I was just curious. I think it's cool too, like with the freediving, it's very important too to distinguish like freediving and spearfishing. I mean, they're very similar, but then very different at the same time, and being able to switch those gears because they are different. But like I always say, if you can adopt that freediving, especially if you're going to have to drop on a deeper reef, that's when you kind of like, okay, I know what to do now. Like maybe I shot a fish and it's tangled up in a hole or at the bottom of a kelp. Let me just switch gears, get my buddy over here, calm down, and then just free dive. What's next for you guys? Like, what's your next step? Because are you guys all geared up and dialed in? You are happy with all your stuff? You got your $500 carbon fins and drop, you're good to go? Like 6 or 7 guns. I'm just thinking of like all the process, the steps that it took to like, why are you getting another gun? Because I need one,
Yeah, the toys never stop.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's always bigger, better, badder out there.
I don't have a roller gun. I got to get one of those. I got to try this. I got to get.
Dang.
Yeah.
Where I'm at, I'm still using that $60 off-rope gun I bought when I first started going out. And actually I ended up breaking that one, and I got like a little just small 70. Like that was all I could afford at the time, like cheapest gun in the shop. And then I fixed the bigger like 120. But still, it's like a gun from the 70s. Like it's retro bandito. I mean, I love it.
But it works, right?
It works, yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, like guys go in and spend thousands of dollars on this stuff. Like, think about what they did 40 years ago and they still land fish.
Yeah.
You don't need, it's nice. It's a luxury. Like, you don't need to spend $2,000 on gear just to get into this thing. Go get a fucking scuba suit, get your ass in the water, snorkel, get used to it, and then buy a $200 or $300 gun and go have fun.
Dude, I'm the biggest proponent of off-road. Like, I swear, I've saved thousands of dollars in just over like so many different aspects of my life. Facebook Marketplace OfferUp. Like I got scuba certified in March, and I saved up for a while, did the certification, and I'm like, okay, I don't have $2,500, $3,000 to spend on the scuba gear. I'm not gonna be able to go out all that much. Maybe like once a month I can swing the $50 to rent gear for the day. I look on OfferUp and I see 2 tanks, BC, everything I need for $100. I'm like, oh, I can do this. I guess I got that spear gun, $60. I got, my first like pair of long fins, like some Cressy plastic fins. I think I got for like 15. My first open cell, my only still suit I use, the open cell suit, 5 mil 2-piece for $70. Like it's, buying the nice new gear is great and all. It definitely comes with its perks. Stuff works maybe a little better. It's not as much wear and tear, but like it can be a really expensive sport, but it can be cheap if you need it to. Like you don't need to be balling out buying, like spending thousands of dollars on gear. Like get something cheap, go out and shoot a fish. That's really all you need, especially to start. And then maybe, after a while you can save up and get some nicer stuff. But
That's a great point. I 100% agree with you. I had plastic fins for 15 years. And I thought if I can dive to 60 feet with plastic fins, I'm good. I don't need anything else. And then I got carbons and I was like, oh, these are really nice. Okay. But, that was after, 15 years of diving. Yeah. Awesome. How about you, Quinn?
Shit. I have all my stuff, but I'd say I'm pretty mid-ranged. Other than my gun, that was expensive, but I'm super content with everything I have. I got the float line and a big 45-liter float that I use for blue water extravaganzas. Just to touch on what Zach said, this is a sport that, originally was pretty much guys with little, bathing suits on and a sharp little stick. And you can stay that simple, or you can go really intricate with like rollers now. You got these crazy composite carbon fins. You got the wetsuits, run way more than you probably want, like 500, 600. I've seen wetsuits even hit like 700 some places. It's crazy. You can, like you said, you can do this with as little or as much as you want. It's a great sport. It's beautiful, which is why I encourage to at least try it, unless they're hydrophobic, then maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen weight belts, all kinds of crazy. Going to some of the countries like where nobody really goes, I guess, but like, dude, it's had a chain link as a weight belt, and he didn't care about anything. He's just getting food for his family. I'm like, ah, damn, okay. But it reminded me, it like reset me of like, oh, okay, he's probably looking at me like, what's that idiot doing, But no, that's a really good point, man. Like that, you said you had a Rife Raider.
Yeah, I got it over at Spear America not too long ago. Just really because I really started getting into the offshore scene of spearfishing this season. This fishing season. We'd be going out 3 to 4 times a week. I'd hit up people in the group chat like, hey, going out Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever, and just fill it up immediately. Every single time we'd have a full boat. We have 4 people having a great time. But again, I was using that first gun I had, the little 130, tiny 6.5 millimeter shaft. If I hit anything bigger than like a 30-pound yellowtail, that thing would be bent. And I ultimately really wanted to get into tuna, wanted to dive for tuna, but we never ran into any opportunities this year.
This was a very tough year for tuna, unless I guess you lived up north.
I never went out up north.
Yeah, like you would probably be better off trailering. Well, you're a Freedom Boat Club, but you could trailer your boat up north and then leave Orange County, get out to Catalina, or the gap between Catalina and Santa Barbara Island. Mm-hmm. They came by. They were here for like a week, 2. It came by and then bounced, and then they kind of do a big loop But yeah, this year was kind of funky, man. I think I just drove the islands. I didn't even really get out for tuna. I wasn't too stoked on running 100 miles to try to shoot it, play whack-a-mole with tuna that were super skittish. But yeah, I mean, you understand. Anybody that's like, the fact that we have 200, 300-pound bluefin tuna off our California coast and our fishery just in general, and I've traveled quite a bit, but it really makes us very spoiled. We have some amazing, like, I mean, those fish are fish of a lifetime offshore here, and they could be as close as like the 9 mile or 4 miles off La Jolla, whatever it is. But everybody wants that picture, you know, with that big bluefin. Yeah, they're funny. And it's delicious. That doesn't help either. But it's like gambling. I think it's gambling. It's straight up a gambling addiction, just like anything else. You roll the dice, and you might win one out of, I don't know how many times, but it is truly a gambling addiction, is getting the fish. I remember going out, and I've said this before in this podcast, where my friends and I are cursing each other on the way back in. We're like, we're going to get out. We're going to get that tuna today, and play whack-a-mole all day. Never even see one underwater. Come back. This is fucking stupid. Yada, yada. We get by the time we get to the dock, we're like, tomorrow we're going back out, right? Yep. Go back out tomorrow. It's like an abusive relationship, but yeah, it's cool that, you went from that 130, you said 6.5. Was that a Rob Allen or just a pipe gun, or?
It was a SEAC.
Okay. All right. And then you just leveled up about 10 levels to the friggin' log that Raider will take down something.
Well, actually, what I want to add is, I remember at the beginning we were talking about what got us into spearfishing, and Zach brought up, he saw a video. There's this one specific video. It was very well done. It was professionally done, of a tuna. It was these two guys going after tuna. I think it was a captain. I wish I could call it out and say the name, because if they ever listen to this, I just want them to know that because of you, this is happening. That'd be sick. But anyways, it was these two guys, their captain, he dove to, he went in a bathing suit, and it was just so angelic and just so, it really captured what I think, literally as close as it could be to the actual experience of diving in blue water. It was gorgeous. They had slow-mo shots. They had like the flurries of a foamer and everything just flying by, and the whole moments building up to him sitting at the the port side of the boat and diving off, and then you see him just diving down into nothing, and then boom, the float just slides down under, going through multiple columns of water, and then him coming up screaming, and just really captured everything. And I was just infatuated from then on out. I was like, I gotta do that.
That sounds like a kinetic spearfishing video to me. I don't know, maybe Blake or something. Yeah, that's it. Bluefin is a different breed of bluefin hunting is completely different, than doing like free dive, breathe up, peaceful dive do a big deep drop. Bluefin's like a football game or something. Ready, set, go, 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 go. Yeah, it's funny. It's like, am I enjoying this right now? I'm getting like holy shit. Yeah, it's awesome. It's pretty cool. How about you, Zach? Like, what do you think? I mean, are you getting into the blue water more, or?
Not yet, really, just because I don't have a blue water gun. I don't have the money to get one. My plan currently is start hacking away at some pine and figure out a shape for a gun, and then buy a nice piece of teak and kind of go at it that way. Hit up Neptonics and get up the trigger mech and just kind of do it myself. Because I'm not in a place where I can afford a blue water gun, but I really want to get out there. I hear their stories of going out paddy hopping and stuff, and I'm like, man, my little pipe gun just wouldn't handle those big fish. But Yeah, that's kind of my it's like if I can't afford it, I just gotta make it. And I ran the math and I was like, all right, if I want to make like a mid like light blue water gun, it would, from buying all the tools, it would cost just as much pretty much as including a margin of error for all the fuck ups I'm gonna make. Like it would cost just as much as buying one from a shop. But if I were to make a big tuna gun, that's where I could save money. So that's kind of my plan, is to once I can kind of get the ball rolling on that, get into blue water. But until then, I'm rocking my little pipe gun and just hitting the islands, hitting shore dives, and loving it.
Yeah, Zach, the main reason you haven't gone isn't because of that. Because the cool thing about our group is that we have these really cool connections and, close connections. We have so many guys with like 4 different blue water guns and all this stuff. Zach, unfortunately, just has been working his ass off, working 2 jobs. Respect, dude. So he hasn't had the time to. Every time I hit him up, I remember I specifically hit him up prior before going to the, like, hey, dude, you're coming on this one. He's like, I can't, man. I'm working 2. I'm working tonight and this morning. I was like, but we have all these people, some of them with like 4 or 5 different guns. I remember Brian, he sold 3 of his, and all within the group pretty much. And a bunch of the newer guys who have never been introduced to blue water, I take them in, like, hey, come with us. Like, I got a couple open spots, whatever. Hit up my buddy, like, hey, can I borrow 2 guns? Or like, come aboard and bring extras. And they'd bring extras and just throw them out, like, kind of like, not candy, but, like, here, this is yours for the day. Get what you can,
Yeah, I was gonna say, because right before you said that, Quinn, I was gonna say, usually how I do it on when I have my boat was that you can only have so many setups running at one time, so we just need 2 tuna guns between the boat, like, and tuna gun, bungee, float, check. The last thing, it's funny when I buy like 4 buddies or whatever on a boat, everybody brings a tuna gun. I'm like. Or like everybody brings 3 guns. I'm like, guys, we don't fucking need like that many guns. Like, I mean, you can use my stuff, like have your primary, and then with the tuna thing, just as long as we got 2 tuna guns, we'll just go with that. But yeah, Zach, so I've made like 10 guns, I think, total. And I am not a woodworker, but I had access to a wood shop. And when I was deployed overseas, we got the hookup to use the wood shop, and so I was buying teak overseas really cheap because we're obviously over in the Middle East, and getting and then using it to laminate all these blanks, and so they'd come in our like mill van or whatever, and there'd all be all these teaks hanging. And the 6 month deployment, so I just hang them all. They're like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, don't worry about it, But like, yeah, I figured, and I know things probably a little more expensive now, but I haven't made one in a couple of years, but it was about $450, $500 for me to get everything together to make the gun. So whether I make a gun from 44 inches to 72 inches, it's going to cost me about $500.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't have money to like, if I had, I got 3 kids, I got enough other expensive crap going on. If I had an extra $1,200, it definitely wouldn't be to buy another spear gun. It would be to like go on a family trip or something somewhere. I don't know, but I can swing like spreading out $500 over a couple of months of me making this thing.
Yeah.
I always encourage everybody to make your own gun, anyways. Just because like you do gain this knowledge, we take so much for granted, but when you make it, you're like, it is fairly simple, but then you realize the little teeny things like, oh, the line release, this gets stuck. That's why so-and-so does it this way or that way. And you are always one cut away from fucking something up and costing you money, but you can always epoxy it. Like I got plenty of guns that are wrapped in carbon fiber because they got to cover up like a major chunk missing, or something like, I only have one, that's true. But there are patches everywhere and stuff. But, the other thing is like, there is something so satisfying about shooting a fish with your gun. It's like the man fucking card or the woman card. Like, it's just so cool, for sure. And especially if it shoots well. I have bought guns for $1,000 and they didn't shoot well. And like, to me, that was like insane. Fortunately, like our industry's I think our industry has the best customer service. And you're like, hey, something's wrong. Okay, let me bring it back. Let me shoot it. You're right. Here's a brand new gun. Pretty cool. But yeah, dude, if you can get a buddy with some tools, basic tools, press, router, you can make a gun. Fucking simple. It's just a lot of sanding, a lot of time without a lot of wood shop, dude, you know?
Yeah. I think I came right about to the same estimate, was about $450, but I counted my estimate as like maybe $650 just because of all the things that I'm gonna fuck up or I'm gonna not think about. That's like I'm a car guy. I used to, rebuilt my car, and it's the thing that I learned really is like the first thing you gotta do for any project is double the budget and double the amount of time you think it's gonna take, and you still might be under or over. But that makes sense. That's why I planned on just getting some like Home Depot 2x4s and just hacking away at it to learn the techniques, because I've done a little bit of woodworking, but nothing like, I've done like framing, but nothing like custom crafting stuff. And just kind of going away at some cheap wood until I'm confident in my skills, and then buying a nice piece of teak and probably still messing up, but not as bad.
If you wanted to go cheaper too, you can always use mahogany and just laminate or epoxy it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people epoxy teak anyways, and it's kind of like, well, it's a little bit of an overkill, but I overdo everything anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could do a mahogany. The only difference is the buoyancy characteristics are a little different. So yeah, don't forget, after you put your gun together, you got a buoyant,
Yeah.
Very cool. So do you guys, what are you looking forward to in the next like year? Like, what do you have any goals in the next year? Like, and then 5 years. So like trips, depths, fish, goals, whatever your goals are. What are you guys looking to do in the next year to 5 years for long term?
Get a big ass tuna for one. That's for sure. Definitely. I know, Zach, we talked about going somewhere like Indonesia or somewhere like the well-known like hot spots, I guess you could say. We go get like dogtooth tuna and all that stuff. Really go explore the beauty of just that crystal clear water and the crazy, bio life around it. That would be ideal, at least for myself. Zach, do you have anything other than that?
For me, in the next year, I want to start going down to Baja a lot, and start checking out new dive spots up north, like North County, OC, stuff like that. But really, I just applied to get a new passport because I lost mine, and I've had some sketchy experiences in Baja without a passport. So I kind of got to the age where I'm like, I should, my brain developed enough to be like, let me do this right, before I get myself into more trouble than I can get out of. But now that I got a new passport coming in, personally, I think if I could make it work somehow, get 2 weeks of vacation with whatever job I have in the next year, and try to take a long, road trip down, on, ideally both sides. I want some grouper, dude. I want to go to Sea Cortez. I was in Florida over the summer and had, all the, we're up in the Panhandle, and all the like local, all the like market catch at all the restaurants was grouper. And that was like I'd say that was my favorite fish. Some people might, it might be kind of a hot take, or, tuna, yellowtail, whatever. I loved grouper. So I really want to go down to the Sea of Cortez, down into the Gulf, and get grouper. I'd say that's my goal for the year. And then 5 years, I would say Yeah, I'd say my 5-year goal is probably a tuna, and just to try some international spearfishing. Really just kind of expand my boundaries, go to new places, try some freshwater spearfishing, kind of just see what where the sport can take me, like what else is out there other than just kind of, the same old dive spots.
No, that's great. I like what you said there. Yeah, good stuff, man. I agree with you about the grouper. I think it's the shit. So does my wife. Like, that's why she's like, I'll get some more grouper. Snapper is pretty good too. I mean, it's all good, but I really do love the grouper. You can just do a lot with it. Tuna is pretty simple. You can do different styles of sashimi and different sear it, but I like grouper. All right, cool, man. Is there anything else? Where can we find out more information about do you guys have an Instagram page? I know you do, but it's a loaded question. Where can we find out more information about the club and also the event?
Yeah, so the Instagram page is just the Breakfast Club SD. If you're interested in joining the club, reach out. Really, the only prerequisite is that you have Facebook, because it's all just in a Facebook group chat. But we're always looking to kind of expand and get more divers out there. Ranging from beginners to experts to everyone in between. Kind of keeping a nice, really a nice even bell curve of like a little bit of beginners, a bunch of intermediate guys, and then a little bit of experts. That way it doesn't kind of lean one way or the other, where beginners are in a group of a bunch of experts and they feel like they can't contribute anything, or experts are in a group of a bunch of beginners and they feel like the group can't really do anything for them. So yeah, we take all walks of the spearfishing life. Reach out, and we'll get you going in there. And then for the event, we have all the information on the Instagram page. And actually, I forgot to mention, when we kind of did a rundown of the event, we've also partnered up with Duke's La Jolla, the wine restaurant right in the Cove. And they're going to match all of the lobsters we get with one of their side steaks. So if we donate 100 lobsters, they're donating 100 steaks, and get some surf and turf to be able to give back to our community. So, any lobster you catch, you're also indirectly or really directly donating a steak to the soup kitchen as well, which I just think is amazing.
That's fucking awesome. That sounds delicious, by the way, too. How did you guys end up getting Duke's involved in that?
My girlfriend actually used to work there. She just started somewhere else, but at the time of planning it, she worked there. And when I was kind of giving her the idea, telling her about it, she's like, oh yeah, Duke's used to donate to Father Joe's Village, which I heard of them. She's like, you should reach out to Father Joe's and see if they would take your food. And also, I could talk to my manager and see if they would want to kind of help out, donate. It was all her idea, which is genius. And be able to donate the steaks. And yeah, she talked to her GM, and GM was like, dude, that's a great idea. We'd love to be able to help, and sign us up. So
yeah, thank you, Dukes. That's pretty cool, man. Really cool. Quinn, do you have any closing any statements or anything you want to say to the people out there listening?
Yeah, of course. If any of you are looking to get more time in the water, or want to meet more people to spend the time in the water with, like Zach said, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'll warm welcome to anybody who just has the same passion that we do of getting in the water, shooting the shit, coming back out, having some dinner to eat, and some good memories to bring back with it. Like, there's no reason why you should not be messaging us in any way, shape, or form. And this is not our first and last event we'll be putting on. We have many other events in the future that'll be coming out, regardless if it will be lobster related or not. In fact, it's not going to be just lobster related. There's going to be a couple different. We have a couple different things we'll be working with here, but we can speak on that as they come. But yeah, if you want to get in the water, come our way.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for reaching out, and thank you for putting this event on, and also spreading the love in our local community and sharing some of your story with us, because I think a lot of people that are newer, oftentimes it's pretty intimidating, but to know there's other normal people out there that are like, hey, might have the same struggles or have been through the same thing, they could reach out to get advice and help on how to grow and recommendations and things like that. So appreciate you guys being on the book and sharing. So hopefully looking forward to crushing some lobster for the less fortunate, and seeing the club continue to grow.
Yeah, actually, before we end it, I have one thing that you just reminded me of.
Yes, sir.
I think from a beginner diver, the best advice I can give to any beginner diver is stay on the outer edge of your comfort zone. Like, this is something my dad taught me as a kid. Is like, if you imagine your comfort zone as a circle, be right on the edge. When you're in the middle, it's nothing. You're not taking any.
Not growing.
You're not growing. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're way outside is where you're in actual danger. So just try to, like, if you're new and you want to get out there, don't, like kind of was saying earlier, don't just jump right in. Start small. Like, I get, like, for example, when I first thought of lobster diving, the idea of going out at night scared the piss out of me. Like, I'm like, dude, a night dive, like, just imagining it scared me. So the first time I went out, I just went out on the Mission Bay jetty, where I'm like, okay, it's nighttime, but I'm right on the rocks. I'm not out in the middle of the ocean at night. And that was, the baby step of, like, on the edge of my comfort zone. I was nervous, but I wasn't freaking out. And then I'm like, okay, I did that a couple times. I'm like, now this is normal for me. Now let me actually go out and, offshore and do a night dive. And I love it. I mean, I like night dives more than normal dives, either for lobster or scuba. And, it's like, if I had just gone out there, if I just tried to go out there in the beginning, it probably wouldn't have ended up well. I would have been scared, terrified in the water. So, yeah, when you're starting, and, if you're a new spearfisherman, start go where you're nervous, but not too far. And you'll be safe, but also be growing.
Cool. That's great advice. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, it's true. You got to push yourself, but don't break yourself.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, boys, for being on the show and sharing your stories and your adventures with us, and trying to put some love back in the community.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.